Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It's the first time we've done this. Meet the parents, meet the coaches. You're all muted, so anybody who has something negative to say, you're not going to be allowed to say it. We do welcome the group of you here. Looking around the forum that we've got, a lot of parents represented from County A and regional squad. And so, you know, we're gonna try to talk universally about swimming careers. If your children were lucky enough to be on the forum last night to hear Alicia Wilson, they would have had an outstanding talk. I don't want to call it a lecture, but a talk by an athlete who's in her prime. She's 20 years of age. She is ranked 2 in the country on 200 IM. She's been able to mix her studying and a very high level of academics with a very, very high level of swimming. And she's currently at the University of California in Berkeley, getting ready for the Olympic trials now that we know they're going to happen in April, with COVID getting under control. And they were lucky enough to hear her journey. She joined us when she was 9 or 10. She'd been at Leatherhead up to that point. I distinctly, and I taught her, you know, I was the swim coach at the school she was at all those years ago with her sisters. And I remember distinctly her mother spending a year and a half on the phone with me before they moved club, just, you know, not wanting to make the commitment, worrying about the commitment. And here she is today on the, you know, I don't put the mockers on it, but she's on the verge of making an Olympic team. And if she doesn't, she's going to get very close to it. But it was an outstanding lecture, and I was very proud of her. She's gone through an incredible journey of having no confidence, no confidence, plateauing at certain points in her career. A real typical example of a swimmer's career. And that's what we really want to kind of talk about today a little bit. We want to help parents as much as we can understand maybe what this journey looks like, because it is a journey and it does take an awful long time. I mean, what I would ask you to do is just look at your walls and picture the paint drying. And that's the analogy of watching your children develop and grow and become swimmers. And there are some deep questions that we're going to tackle today. I think some of the questions that have been posed to us are pretty deep. And I think we should try to give you as full an answer as possible. This may be the first and last of these meetings. We'll see how they go. And I think we would welcome your feedback afterwards to see if you want to do it again, to see whether it's interesting to you and whether it's informative and helpful. Just before we start, I've had my own sons, one in particular, go through swimming all the way up to university and beyond, still swimming, masters, and breaking masters records. And I've got my grandson involved in swimming. So I'm a swimming coach, I'm director of swimming of the club, but I'm also a swimming parent and now a swimming grandparent. So I feel everything you feel, I've felt it too at one stage or another. And I'm sympathetic and understanding, but that's as far as it goes. What we were going to do is just introduce ourselves, because there's a number of you who really don't know who we are, that you're new to the club, or that you're in a section of the club that hasn't maybe come in contact with us yet. So what I wanted to do is just go around, have the coaches say their name, introduce who they are, maybe very briefly, their swimming and their coaching background, so that we just kick it off in a way that maybe brings us closer to you. So I'm Richard. I'm chief coach, director of swimming. I've been at Guildford for 23 years. I've been coaching for over 30 years. It's my journey. We started, I took over the club in May '98. We had 163 members. We had 6 to 8 hours worth of pool time. We were a second division club in every sense of the word. People were frightened to swim 400 meters in competition. Steve Wadey came on board about 3 or 4 months after I joined. And from that, we built a club that's, you know, #1 in the Southeast, probably the most successful club in the history of the Southeast region, and one of the best clubs in Great Britain. So this is my baby that I'm super proud of, but it's only my baby because of the great coaches and great administrators that we've been able to bring on board and have helped us over the years. Lee?
Well, you've ruined the first bit. So my name's Lee. I'm the kind of lead coach for the high performance side of the club. So I coach directly the national performance squad, the sprint side of that group at the moment. I then work with Joe, Claudia, Matt, and then Steve on the other high performance squad, just give them support in terms of what they're doing as well. Been at the club for just over 10 years now. It seems to have absolutely flown by. I came in as Steve's assistant back in 2010 and kind of just been plugging away since then. Worked with a number of swimmers. Hannah Russell went to the Paralympics, coached Alicia for a little bit as an age grouper, and then before she went off to uni. Tatiana, so both those two girls went to European Juniors and got medals. But worked with a whole host of swimmers, from people who've made county finals and achieved things they never thought they'd achieve, right the way through to people going to nationals and achieving things they didn't think they could achieve there. So worked with a whole array of swimmers in that period of time.
Thanks, Lee. Lewis, we're going to go down the order of coaches.
Cheers, Rich. Morning. So Lewis Dunford, I work with Lee at the top at the National Performance Squad. I take the middle and the distance guys of that area. Joined the club 2015, seems so long ago now. Originally came in as Lee's assistant, working with the national age group squad. Then when Lee progressed, I took over that as the head coach, and then progressed up to where I am now at the moment. Similar sort of things to what Lee said, worked with a whole range of swimmers from the county level all the way up to international level. I had a para athlete I was coaching with Zara Maluli, went on to achieve European champion status in 2019, which was great. Also had national champions, English national champions, and a whole range of swimmers who have achieved at all different levels and continue to achieve. So. And
Lewis, what did you swim as an age group swimmer? What was your main event?
Swimmer. Yeah, I was a 200 fly swimmer and a 1500 freestyler. So all those, the big events. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed those ones.
The real events. No, I understand. Thank you, Lewis. Joe Tierney.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm co-lead coach of the National Youth Squad. I've been at Guildford for the best part of 20 years now. Before that, I was at my previous club for about 25 years. Been around Surrey swimming for the best part of 40 odd years. So that ages me somewhat. And come from a predominantly endurance-based background. Fundamental belief that endurance, is I keep breaking up now, I think. So fundamental belief that's where I'm comfortable coaching. Hence the reason why I'm taking the 200 and up guys for the youth squad group. And I've assisted many of the coaches here as well, but due to work commitments couldn't take a lead role until relatively recently.
And who was your favorite coach when you were 17, 18, Joe?
Yeah, I did swim under Rich Garfield as well, so
just to keep the flow going. Claudia Clements.
Hi guys. So my name's Claudia. I come from a swimming background myself. I started off at Plymouth Leanders Swimming Club at the boarding school there, and competed internationally as a junior. Started coaching about 10 years ago and actually coached at Plymouth, where I kind of started my proper swimming career. Moved to Portsmouth after that, where I had quite a few national champions. We won most improved club. So great start at Portsmouth, and then moved to Guildford just over a year ago now. So co-leading with Joe for the National Youth Squad at Guildford, and then I'm running the 200 and down guys.
Thanks, Claudia. I watched Claudia compete many years ago at the Bath and Otter Cup, I believe, when everybody got upset that Plymouth College came in and swept all the golds and the medals and the trophies. Matthew Smart.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Hi, everyone. So obviously, my name's Matt. Probably one of the few coaches that doesn't have a swimming background. So I grew up not swimming. I grew up playing cricket, coached cricket, played cricket for Hampshire when I was 16. Joined Guildford in 2016 under Steve Wadey back on junior county. I worked in the academy for a year. Then I came in and worked with Lee for a year. And then I took over regional squads. And now I'm in my third season of that. So a great sort of wide experience coaching all sort of age groups. So my key beliefs as a coach is sort of developing the person, not the athlete, making sure everyone that comes into the squad gets what they want out of it, regardless of their ability, and that they're constantly enjoying the sport. Because if they're not enjoying it, there's no point in doing it, really.
Thanks, Matt. Matt, we should also point out that Matt has just stepped away as being the Surrey County coach, or I think he stepped away from it.
Oh, I'm doing it for another year. I've got a bonus year. So in my third year of Surrey County coaching.
Yeah, and also he's, as most of the coaches around here, I've been invited and have worked with GB Swimming or Swim England over the years. All of us have had that experience one way or another. Is Rianne here?
No, you can't join us today.
So on to my oldest colleague here, Steve Wadey. Not oldest and old, but you know. Yeah, Steve's the only one that follows suit in terms of hairstyle.
That's dedication for you, see.
Stevie?
Hi, I'm Steve Wadey. I've been at the club since 1998, so just over 22 years. Before that, I was involved in competitive swimming since I was about 6 through to about 14, and went on to do other activities because swim commitment was getting too tough in terms of wanting to do other things. So I have a very good understanding of the situation that obviously many swimmers and academics, where they join. Over the years, I've been lucky and privileged enough to work in a variety of areas within the club. I probably spanned within my coaching experience within the entire club, as well as being a head coach at Ambridge Phoenix when we had a specific program aligned with them to help them, and that was led by Guildford. Recently, come out of the academy. Back to high performance. Over the years, I've coached swimmers through to national and international level with many national finalists and medalists along the way. And I would say that the thing that continually drives me as a coach is to help young athletes develop and get to where and achieve the goals that they want to achieve.
Thank you, Steve. And, you know, again, it's well known amongst the coaches in the club, but one of the best biomechanists in the country is Steve Wadey. I mean, Steve is the guru of all things stroke technique. That's what a biomechanist does. And we're very lucky to have him. You know, I met him when he was a fresh-faced 19-year-old. He's still
had hair then.
He's still fresh-faced, but he's no longer 19. And yeah, I've been lucky. He's been, you know, with all these guys, as I said right at the beginning, you know, we're blessed with having an amazing group of coaches, and we've got 2 more to introduce today. So I think I've covered everybody in the high performance. On to Sergey Mandra.
Hi guys, my name is Sergey. I have competitive swimming background up to national level. I joined Guildford 2012 as a swimmer and academy coach. I swam under Richard and Josh Williamson. And then 2015, I took over the competitive senior CDS squad. From then on, I pretty much stopped swimming, just focused on the coaching. And CDS squad's quite a mixed ability squad. You go from occasional national level swimmers up to regional county level. We had a para swimmer reaching finals at World Championships, para World Championships. So yeah, quite mixed ability and age group in terms of our squad, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. And Ivo?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ivo. I'm also come from a swimming background. I used to swim competitively up to a national standard level. I've been coaching for the last 8-9 years with pretty much all areas of the club, from academy level to high performance. And at the moment, last few years I'm leading the master squad, one of the highest level of master swimming. We had a lot of success internationally, reaching European records and even a few world records. So very proud of that. Yeah, pretty much that's it.
Thank you, Ivo. So Sergey and Ivo are brothers, even though their names are slightly different. Sergey's had a name abbreviation, and you know, we're very lucky to have this group of very talented teachers and coaches. I won't call upon the Spectrum coaches and teachers today because we've got their meeting tomorrow morning, and we'll go through the similar kind of background and have a chat about who we are and introduce ourselves. So what we're going to try to do is to answer the questions that have been posed to us, and I think we have some sort of formula to do that. Lee, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, we kind of ended up getting kind of two different types of questions. Like one set of questions were more around kind of just like functional things, and one was more around kind of the deeper philosophy of coaching and the development of athletes. So we'll go with the slightly deeper questions first. So the first question that somebody sent in is, when does time run out to alter the pecking order at races? I notice a pattern that rarely changes across all ages. So I wonder why we do all this training if the child keeps coming 6th or 7th. Kind of like a follow-up part to that was then, how do we keep the spirit alive if they never win? And then C is also another part of it was then, how do I instill confidence in my swimmer?
So let me jump in there because I've written notes in the middle of the night. No, I've had these notes for years and years. So these questions are perennial. You know, for the 30 years I've been doing this, this comes up every year. This comes up many times in a year. And it comes up at different points in people's development. So you could have a very advanced, very strong 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old who suddenly stops growing and everybody around them starts growing at 11. And then by the time they all hit 15, it all kind of equals out. Puberty is sometimes a terrible thing. It sometimes, you know, just levels swimmers out, particularly female swimmers. There are a number of issues here, and that is that your child's development is going to be different to everybody else's. No two people are alike. At the age of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, probably up to puberty, if you're born in January, you probably have a big advantage over somebody who's born in December. You're a whole year older. Yet, in most competitions, you are competing against them. So January, February, March babies are always going to have, generally will have an advantage over October, November, December babies up to probably puberty. That's what we find. There's a massive strength difference. There's a massive development difference in most kids. If your child is coming 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and isn't winning, particularly at Guildford, then we're focusing on the wrong thing. The focus all the time should not be on outcome. It should be on process. And that's one of the hardest things to get across to parents, because we stand around with stopwatches. You might stand around with a stopwatch. Everything is based upon results, looking at results, measuring results, comparing results. But the truth of the matter is, and this is what Alicia talked about last night, the results almost don't matter. What really matters is the process development. So take something really simple on backstroke. How far can your child swim underwater? What we call it SST, subsurface travel. How far can your child swim underwater on the last 50 of a 200 backstroke? Do they pop up at 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters? Are they in oxygen debt after the first 100, so they don't pop up, beyond 2 or 3 meters? The process of developing that skill is vital in developing a competitive athlete. Okay, you can do it on fly, you can do it on backstroke. We can talk about breaststroke. Is your child's leg kick strong enough on breaststroke to be able to swim in a long course pool 20 strokes or less in a competition at pace? Because if they're swimming at 22 strokes or 23 strokes or 30 strokes a length, and it's not the last length, they're not going to have enough energy left in their system to handle the last length of the race. It's all about process. Whether you're 7 years old or 17 or 27, it's all about process. And that's the hardest thing to express, because process is boring. It's like watching paint dry. What's exciting is a PB. What's great is the euphoria and the celebration that comes with getting the success of a medal, or best, a gold medal. And there's no way of addressing this without saying to you, we have to de-emphasize the outcome and emphasize the process. And as coaches, we fail sometimes. It's admitted. Sometimes we stand there and go, gee, if you just didn't take that breath in the last 3 meters, you would have gone under a minute for the first time in your life, okay? Whereas what we should be saying is, hey, let's get back to training and practice so that you don't breathe in the last 5 meters. So we make sure you don't breathe in the last 5 meters. Lee, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd probably just follow up on the last kind of parts of the question, really. So how do you keep spirits alive when they never win, and how do I instill confidence in my swimmer? And the stuff that Rich has just spoken about there is the bit that as parents, as coaches, and then bringing the swimmer into the equation, we all need to be focusing on. So if the swimmer's been working really hard in training on their underwater work, or a certain breathing pattern, or a certain part of their stroke, when they then go and race and they do that and they achieve that, whatever it is they've been working at, that's where, as parents and coaches, we need to be jumping on the swimmer, almost congratulating them on doing such a great job on working on that skill. That fundamentally, year on year and through the season, will make them a better swimmer, and ultimately they'll end up getting better times and swimming faster. But de-emphasizing, like Richard just said, de-emphasizing the actual outcome is really important, and emphasizing the little bits they've been working on will actually build their confidence incredibly quickly. And what you see is as swimmers focus more and more on those little processes and those little skills, when they see that they get that reward for working really hard on that last turn, they completely forget about the time. And you'll see, you'll congratulate them. Like, that third turn you did was fantastic. Your underwaters were really good. Your breakout was really good. You see this big beaming smile on their face. And it then becomes like building blocks. The more they do that, the better swimmer they are, the better technically they are, the more competent they are when they race. And then ultimately you end up with a fast swim at the end anyway. But that's just going to come as a result of all the building blocks that sit in between that point.
Let me put something else out there. And we said we would try to go deep with you all, and I hope this is helping. Very often you'll have swimmers who just don't want to compete. They're intimidated by competition. And sometimes that's because, and again, if I take a female athlete, they start to plateau, and every time they swim, they don't do well. And when they don't do well, it reinforces the fact that, they're plateaued, and they'll put it down to the word rubbish comes up as how bad they are, how terrible they are. But truthfully, they aren't. They just plateaued, and we have to work with them to get them through that plateau. And the best example I can give, and so then what happens is competition becomes a negative avenue. It's a negative stimulant. So you take a female going to a competition. She knows she's going to swim bad. She knows in her heart, she's got it absolutely convinced she's going to swim badly. She stands behind the block. She has no confidence. She's just waiting to see what the clock says when she touches at the end to prove that she's not going to do well. And I can assure you that boys go through it too, but it's a lot of girls that feel this negativity. We had a swimmer who is at university now. She was born 97, Hannah Dry. And Hannah went through the war. I mean, she was so great at up to about 12, 13. And then she went into the dreaded plateau at 13, 14. And she would go to competition and break down crying before she even started. The nerves would get to her, fear of failure, knowing that she was going to fail, all those things. And we said to her, this is many years ago, when you touch at the wall, you're not allowed to look at the clock. You're never now allowed to look at the clock, okay? Because all that's doing is reinforcing all the negativity. And that's the way it went for a while, until she finally PB'd and we started screaming at her, look at the clock, look at the clock. And it was a massive breakthrough for her and her confidence. It just takes time sometimes to get through that. And you know your own children very well. You can have a child in January whose arm length is, you know, X centimeters, and by the time you hit June, their arm length is now X plus 5 centimeters or X plus 6 centimeters. They grow very quickly. And when those growth happens, Steve, talk about the biomechanics of somebody who changes shape very quickly, or whose arms and legs get longer in a very short period of time.
Yeah, there's as Rich has mentioned, there's not just a psychological effect, but also a physical effect. Swimmers that can, again, everybody's on their own development curve. It can be very easy for one athlete to look at another athlete, their teammate, perhaps somebody that they train with night in, night out, and base themselves on that other person's performance, rather than actually focusing on the processes that they need to get right. And with what Richard asked me to sort of answer on, is the fact that we can have a swimmer in the pool and within a 3-month period they could have grown 3 or 4 centimeters and go through a period where the water feels alien to them. Suddenly they've grown a lot, they feel like they're all over the place, that they have a lack of control. There are other swimmers that will grow 3 or 4 centimeters and absolutely take off. This is a very, very individual thing with each and every young athlete as they develop. And the important thing is to be getting the processes right for that individual, rather than looking at someone else and judging and basing yourself on someone else.
Thanks, Steve. There was another bit to the question, Lee. I think it was, how do they cope with not winning? How do you keep them alive? Here's the problem in sport, and swimming seems to be the main one. There's always going to be somebody who's better than you. So when you win the British Championships and you become #1 in Britain, you then have to go and face those in Europe or the rest of the world. Unless you're Michael Phelps or someone of that ilk, there's always going to be somebody better than you. And the name of the game for us as coaches, as well as trying to coach individuals, is to aspire to be the best. And the secret word here is aspiration. That's what we're trying to get. We want everybody to aspire to be the best they can be. We wake up every day as coaches of Guildford City and say, how can we make our club and our swimmers the best that they can be? Okay? We're dedicated to that. We have been dedicated to that for 20+ years. And most swimming clubs don't work that way. Most institutions don't work that way. They wake up and go, how can we take care of the mass? How can we make sure that we get kids in the water? We're different, all right? We are successful because we are very ambitious for our swimmers and for our club and for each other as coaches. And so the issue is that we are always striving to be the best, but there's always somebody who's better than us, you know, except in 2016 when we finally beat Plymouth. But now there's another boarding school that's ahead of us. And we will go back into Arena League, for instance, or Junior Arena League, where Leeds have beaten us in the last couple of years. And we will do our best to take them on because we aspire to be the best. And we aspire, therefore, for our students to be the best. Lee, what's the next question?
Actually leads on quite well. Where does it all lead as they grow up? Do we simply congratulate them for qualifying, for example, at regional or national level, and possibly they will never go further? Or is there a career option competition level that doesn't mean you need to be number one? Something that means they made it, in inverted commas, or is it quite an achievement to qualify at these levels?
These are very good questions, by the way. Somebody asked Alicia Wilson last night what was her regret. And she said that she didn't take her success at the lower levels seriously enough. She didn't allow herself a pat on the back when she became county champion or regional champion. I think just a child being in a swimming club, being a member of Guildford City should be pride. Okay, this is, as I say, I don't want to name any other swimming clubs in the local area, but we, by lots of measures, are the most successful swimming club in the history of the Southeast region. Okay, there are lots of reasons why I can say that with confidence. You could just look at the statistics. If you're a member of this club and you're in the high performance, you should be proud. Just that alone should give you pride. Okay, and you are going to be a small fish in a big pond here. If you go join a swimming club in the local area around us or anywhere else in the Southeast, maybe except Wickham, maybe except Oxford, you're going to be a big fish in a small pond. Now, that suits some individuals, and I don't deny that. I'm not knocking that. You know, sometimes it's great to have your self-esteem, you know, driven up because you are the number one swimmer. But what happens in most clubs is that by the time you hit 13, 14, you are the best swimmer, and there is nobody around you who's driving you. There's nobody around you who's making you competitive. Very often we'll find swimmers, and we've got boys now in the club who are in MPS or who are in NAES who couldn't get in the top 20, even in the county when they were 9, 10, 11, 12, who are now in the top 10 in regionals, probably in Swim England, they're in the top 20. It just takes time. And so we don't want to judge people by their PBs or the times they get. Unfortunately, that's our sport. But the development, the change that takes place over the years, the journey they're on is vital. This is the bit I was going to throw in on a personal level. So my son, my eldest son, who turned 40 this year, is a doctor. And he was a swimmer at national level, never made it to international level, but won medals at national level. He thanks his swimming career for making him as disciplined and as dedicated as he is as a doctor. And maybe that's, you know, easy for him to say, but I can see it. I can see the translation between swimming all the way up, becoming captain of his university club, swimming national level, winning medals at national level, and then jumping and becoming a physician on the front line now of COVID. That journey he is on in his life, swimming gave him a foundation of time management, helping him focus on his academics because he had to, because he's swimming so many hours as well. And just the dedication and discipline for a specific sport, whether he won or not, almost didn't matter. The fact that he went through that journey has helped him. I know that a lot of the coaches that we have around this table now, who I've coached, have been on a similar journey, and that similar discipline, you see it in the way they conduct themselves. So even if you don't win anything in swimming, it's still going to give you dedication and discipline and an understanding of being in a big team. Now I'm choking. Lee.
Yeah, almost just to spin it back to where we started, we were talking about how important process is. So we work really hard day to day for swimmers to understand that when you have some big meaty challenge of something you want to achieve, breaking it down into those little parts makes it so much easier. We try and reinforce that a lot on poolside. And I think that then goes away into their lives. I think certainly a lot of swimmers I've worked with have been able to go into different industries and not be so fixated on whatever that outcome is in their job or their career. They understand that bit about just breaking it down into smaller goals to then go on and achieve. And that for me is just one example of like lessons that are learned through this sport. You look at things like time management. All of your family's time management probably moved up a notch when you moved into swimming. And certainly as you move through the groups and you're doing more hours and and having to balance the education of your child with the swimming that they're doing, all those skills are then just huge when they come out of the sport. And that's before even talking about what they actually learn as they're going through it. So them learning to communicate well with adults, learning to work with teammates. You know, there's so much that gets taken from this sport that takes these kids from a very, very basic level to then actually really quite advanced in a lot of these skills, which I think is just invaluable. When you speak to most swimmers that I've worked with, I've spoken to when they kind of retired and moved on, they'll talk about everything that they learned through swimming that they've now taken with them, and it stays with them for life. It's huge.
Great. Next question.
In training, if they work off different sets based on a previous race time, how do they keep up or change that order? What if they had a bad race and can actually do better? Is this all taken into account when deciding how they train?
So I'm not sure. This may be a loaded question, and I'm not sure where we're going with it. The question could be posed because some squads work out the order that the kids train in based upon their PBs or based upon what they did in the last competition. I'm going to try to ignore that because that's not the way we think, okay? And it doesn't matter where a swimmer is in a lane. It doesn't even matter what lane there is, as long as they're doing what the coach asks them to do. I think it's really important to understand that we are a multi-stroke 200, 400 IM based club up to the national youth squad. Our emphasis has always been and will always be multi-stroke 200, 400 IM, okay? It's our very strong belief that working on all four strokes is vital. Lewis, do you want to just give an opinion on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think especially starting at the development age group, having multi-strokes is vital. I think to make sure we're reducing that potential injury risk there, but also making sure training remains interesting and enjoyable for everybody. I think on the point of the training sets and things like that, this is where the coach's eye comes into it. The coach will be able to see everything that goes on in the training session. They'll be able to see how the lanes are working, and obviously it's always moving. People are developing at different rates, like Steve mentioned previously, and their development rate will be taken into account when training sets and training is taking place. If you see that people are really excelling in certain areas, then obviously they'll be progressed at a suitable level that the coach deems that to be. But I think, yeah, the multi-stroke approach and the aerobic base is super important to build the foundations for future training as they move up through the groups of high performance or whichever section or stream of the club they're in. Because getting those fundamental basics of the process and the technical elements as strong as you possibly can do is only going to put you in good stead as you progress through your journey as a swimmer up to that senior level, which is what we all want people to continue to achieve at.
So I'll throw a negative question out there and let's see how Matt handles it, shall we? So Matt, we're a 200, 400 IM based program, and my child just can't swim breaststroke. They're just awful at breaststroke. Anybody recognize that? Yeah, I think there's a few parents out there who understand what I'm saying. My grandson, by the way, can't swim breaststroke, so I bring this up. So Matt, how do I encourage my grandson who wants to be a superstar, who can't swim a lick? You know, he's got a screw kick on breaststroke. He naturally has a screw kick. You know, it's how do I encourage him? How do I fix that?
I think what I'll throw back is something that Alicia said last night about. I mean, she said she didn't PB her breaststroke from when she was 14 to when she was 19. But one of the big things she's realised is how much working on that stroke has helped her other strokes as well. So yes, for example, your grandson can't swim breaststroke, but working on his breaststroke, keep trying to improve that breaststroke is fundamentally going to improve the other strokes at the same time. It's going to take it might be frustrating for him, but if he buys into that one session for breaststroke, he might make a massive jump forwards in breaststroke, which is then going to give him the confidence to move forwards on all the other strokes as well. So as much as it's a challenge for those swimmers, that breaststroke is a great example because it is the hardest stroke technically. it's a great chance for them to move forwards in something that is going to be the weakest and therefore has the biggest progression available.
Thanks, Matt. Good answer. I'm sending my grandson to you, and he will become the
Well, we
lead
love French
swimmer. He's going to be about 2 or 3 years too young for your squad, but I'm going to have nepotism, and he's going to be the lead swimmer in your group, and he's going to be number 1 in the lane, and I don't care about the rest of the squad. Lee, what's your next question?
So we start to get a little bit more kind of functional in terms of things that are actually happening around us day to day now. Will we be able to reduce the number of swimmers per lane, was a question that was asked.
The answer is we have already reduced the number of swimmers per lane. We're working on approximately 8 swimmers per lane at SSP. MPS is slightly less than that. Our model to just stay alive as a business is we need anywhere from 8 to 10 swimmers per lane. There's no way around that. I wish we could get by with much less, but we can't. Next.
So then this is quite an interesting one. With GCSEs and A-level exams pushed back by 3 weeks, will British Swimming and Swim England, their championships, likely take this into account? So
with the answer to that one is we'll unfold a little bit for parents here about what the competition is going to look like from January 1 onwards. And it's beginning, the jigsaw puzzle is beginning to come together. And we'll answer that bit of that question towards the end of this, this response. So first of all, we're going to be publishing next week, we hope, the first club championships, proper club championships held at Guildford City for nearly 20 years. And they will run from January through to March, and they will be Racing X. So those times will count towards probably entry into county championships. We're going to have heats and finals. We're going to have finals for age groups. We're going to have medals. We're going to have ribbons. We're going to have certificates. It's going to be a full-on club championships that will run for 3 months. And it will cover both SSP and the Spectrum, and will be offered to everybody on this forum as we speak now, anybody in the competitive side of the club. That's in lieu of us being able to hold open meets or go to open meets. At the moment, Swim England are not sanctioning any open meets to be held. If that changes, we'll try to hold an open meet, which may compromise our club championships plan, but at the moment, we're planning a major competitive program for all of your swimmers that will run from January onwards, okay? And that will all be published and unfolded over the next couple of weeks. We are in conversation and debate with the county. We're very close connections with the county, Surrey County, and we believe that they're going to run a county championships between the middle of May and the end of July. It's changed as it in previous years. The government has given them sanction to do that. We also know that they're trying to book SSP at that time of year as well. And also because I'm the chairman of the Southeast Region Coaches, we're in close consultation with the regional board who are organizing the regional championships. And although I'm not supposed to tell you, the dates for the regional championships are provisionally, got your pen and paper ready? Because I'm not going to put it in writing. Age groups would run the 24th and 25th of April at K2. And then the 8th and 9th of April at K2. That would be the age groups. And the seniors would run from the 30th of April through to the 3rd of May. So that gives us club championships in the front end of 2021. That gives us a regional championships weirdly in the middle. Then it gives us the county championships towards the summer, and then the nationals. Now, it's very likely that if the government stays with its moving GCSEs and A-levels, that it will have an impact on the summer national championships. They haven't published those dates yet. And nor I don't think we've seen even what they're thinking about. Lee, any insight into that?
No, I don't really have any insight in terms of what's going to happen with the national championships. I'd say the one thing from our side as a group of coaches, whenever we get to exam periods, and that's exams for all ages and any ages, will help swimmers through it. And I think it's a really important part of their development to have that communication with their coach around what they're going to be doing with their training during that exam period. The exams do take priority. There's no question around that. All I've ever asked athletes that I've worked with is that they just plan out what they're going to do training wise during that exam period. And I don't ever tell them what they should do or have to do it within that. I just ask them to plan it out. So if they end up being very close to the national championships and we have to plan around it, we plan around it. But at the moment, we don't know what's going to happen. So we just have to wait and see at this point.
Great. Next question.
You kind of covered this. Will you be continuing the level X competitions, and what preparation will there be for the counties in 2021?
I have covered it. And the other thing I missed was that we now know, and it was published, you know, in the public forum, that the British Championships, which will be the Olympic trials and the European Youth trials and the European Junior Championship trials, are being held at London Aquatic Centre from the 13th through to the 18th of April. And there will be a lot of swimmers making it. We know that the qualifying times will be quite tolerant to be able to get to those championships. And of course, that's going to be the senior group, but there'll still be a lot of Guildford swimmers there. I'm anticipating between 50 and 60 Guildford swimmers there during the course of that week. What's your next question, sir?
Just quickly, just to clarify so people understand, our club championships will be run as the level X competitions were just before this lockdown. And what we're being told from a county level is that those level X times will potentially be used as qualifying times for the county championships that could run in that later window of May to July. So just so people know that our internal club champs will be run under level X that will potentially qualify people for counties as well.
And I should stress potential. So when they turn around and say you can't use it, please don't shout at us. We're just going on what we're being told today. And all the information we're giving you is all tentative. So, you know, you got to treat it with a little bit of relaxation. What's our next question?
So this is our last question. Is it possible to organise a team building session for the MPS swimmers when things normalise a little?
It's up to you.
Yes is the answer to that. What's happened in the past is that our club captains have actually always organised pretty much some kind of social event, one each term as we've gone through the year. Obviously that can't happen at the moment because of all the social restrictions. So yeah, very quick one, yes.
So I've got a few notes here of many years of talking to parents and dealing with swimmers. We're in a very interesting dilemma. And that is up to County A squad, and there's a lot of people in County A squad, we really want parents involved, okay? We love the parents to be involved, not too involved, but to be involved. And interestingly enough, as soon as they leave County A and they go into regional squad, we don't want parents involved anymore. It's a really weird thing. It's like they go from primary school to secondary school, and as soon as they go to secondary school, we want the child to be independent. Why do we want the child to be independent? Is it because we don't like parents anymore? Is it because we don't trust parents anymore? No. It's everything to do with the journey that your child is on. It's vital. It's absolutely vital that they become independent and that they learn that independence. And sometimes it takes a long time to learn it. Sometimes it takes a long time for the parent to learn it because the parent's so tied up with the child's swimming career. Listen, I know, I've been there. Okay, it's really hard to let go when you've driven every single session and you've sat there watching them swim up and down, up and down. You know, it can be soul destroying that suddenly the coaches are saying, we don't want to deal with you anymore. We just want to deal with your child. That independence, without that independence, the careers will probably stop. I can't think of many swimmers that I've come across in the sport who've excelled with their parents still managing their career or working with them or coaching them. There's maybe one or two that I can think of in the country. Very, very few. Certainly not at Guildford City. And it tends to end in tears if the parent doesn't relinquish that control. So when we say, when We'll take an example, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular here, but if Steve gets a 15-page email in the middle of the night saying, I want you to do this, I want you to coach my child this way, and I want him my son to be in this lane, and I want him to be leading the lane. What that does is that puts Steve's back up, because correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, nod, am I right? Yeah. It immediately challenges his coaching program. Steve's been coaching a long time. He's one of the best age group coaches in the country, maybe in the world. He knows what he's doing. You have to trust us. You're at Guildford because you trust us. If you don't trust us, we're not the right club for you, okay? You have to trust us to get it right for your child. When your child gets in the car, when you pick them up from training, and they say to you, the coach hates me. The coach definitely hates me, being horrible to me. And you find out that the coach didn't speak to him very much that night, or maybe didn't speak to him at all. And you write a 16-page email in the middle of the night saying, why do you hate my child? You've absorbed their pain. You've taken away all their anger. The truth of the matter is we care about every single swimmer in our squad. We care about every single swimmer in the club. I even care about Evo's master swimmers. They don't know that very much because I don't see them very often. Maybe one or two of them I don't like, but most of Evo's master swimmers I care about. I care about the kids who swim a half an hour at the Spectrum, right through to the NPS kids who swim 20, 22 hours a week. We care about everybody. That's why we're successful. Now, if you feel that we're not doing a good enough job, or if you feel that we could do with some direction, I don't think any of us would feel bad about you saying, you know, my son may need a little bit of inspiration because he's feeling a bit down, or my daughter may need a bit of motivation because she's not sure about things. Give us the nudge. We welcome the nudge. We welcome that input. Just don't tell us how to coach, and don't tell us how to have a relationship with your child, because that puts our back up. And the best way of putting our back up is to write us a 15-page angry email in the middle of the night, which we will be upset about, because we take this job very, very seriously. We are incredibly passionate about this club and the kids that we coach. They are our lifeblood. And you can't make us more passionate. In fact, I would say, I wonder how many kids we have who are as ambitious as we are as coaches, or parents who are as ambitious as we are as coaches. I mean, when we come across them, it's very interesting because we go, oh, well, there's a match for our ambition. We want the best for your children. And all I would say is, when you get the criticism of us, or you get told the coach hates me, just sit back and think for a minute, is this true, or is this a child just being very upset in the moment? And how do we reconcile? Because we don't want anybody upset. That leads on to the other thing is, try not to be your child's manager. And if you are going to be their swim manager, then at least consult with the coach before you make a decision, any decision. Because you ask us an opinion, we're going to give it to you. And we feel very strongly about their swimming careers. We feel we're managing their swimming careers, and we don't want anybody else to. But we understand you're going to want to have a say in it as well. I think I've covered everything, Lee Spindler.
Yeah, the only thing I'd just like to just tell a very quick story, if that's okay. It won't take too long, but it's just kind of around the independence of a child. And I had a swimmer that came work with me quite a while ago now. At 13 years old, and her parents, for all the right reasons, were really supportive, but they were right on top of everything she did. They really pushed her on a lot of things, and interestingly, her training hours were actually quite low. She kind of spent her first year with me just trying to figure out in her own mind, I think, what she wanted from the sport, what she wanted from swimming. In the second year with me, and during that first year, she kind of swam okay. But the outcome bit is still kind of important for this story. So that first year, she kind of swam okay. But there was something holding her back, and she wasn't quite comfortable with the whole dynamic. In the second year with me, she had a conversation with her parents, and she kind of just broke the shackles a little bit, which was just all on her terms, all her decision. And she took responsibility for everything. I think this is the big thing that I want to try and help all the swimmers across the whole club, not even just the high performance ones, all the swimmers. She took complete responsibility for everything she did. She got her training hours all where she wanted them to be. She managed everything with her school. Her diary was all laid out well in advance. If she was going to miss a training session for something to do with her academics, she'd switch a training session to another one. She took complete responsibility for everything. The first 3 months of that season, where she then took that responsibility and ownership, she dropped 30 seconds on her 200 fly. And it was just really interesting. 30 seconds.
3-0.
She went to Hillingdon when it was a long course meet and dropped 30 seconds on her 200 fly. It's the most remarkable person I think I've ever coached in that sense, where the first year she was just kind of finding herself and trying to work out how that dynamic worked and what she needed to do. The second season, she was communicating. So she was on top of all her studies. She was on top of her training, but it was her leading. It was her very much leading it. She was actually getting her parents out of bed because she'd be late for morning training during that first season. So she decided in the second season she'd wake her parents up. So I apologize if your kids now start coming in and waking you up at 5:30 in the morning or 5:15. But they're the kind of things that she did. And then her taking that responsibility just completely changed everything she took from the sport. She was then able to, the process stuff that we talk about, if we gave her feedback, she would then really jump on that feedback and make positive change. And she just dropped a huge amount of time as a result. So I just think it's a really big thing that I want to kind of get across the whole club, really, is that the swimmers taking that independence and taking that responsibility means that they take more from the sport, but actually they then perform at a way higher level when they do it, because they know the sport so well. They're here every single day, training every single day. They know it so well. If they can then shape it for them with the help of their coaches, they take a lot from it.
And that's the journey they're on, and that's the development they're on. Look, I hope that we've come up to the top of the hour, and I hope that this has helped. I hope we haven't been too aggressive. I have a tendency to maybe be a bit aggressive about everything. So I apologize if I've offended anybody. I really don't mean to. We do care about you, and we do care about your kids. Do give us some feedback, please. Let us know whether this helped, whether you want to have it again. We can hold one again in the new year. We can talk about different things. We can talk about the same stuff and just address it a different way. I'd like the coaches to stay on, please. All the coaches that are assembled here, including those at Spectrum, just stay on at the end here, so we can just have a debrief. But thanks very much, and we're delighted to say that if you're 17 years or under, you can come back to training on Wednesday the 2nd at both Spectrum and at SSP. So whatever squads are supposed to be on will be on the 2nd. So we wish you, we look forward to seeing you in the car park, and we'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Thank you.